The massive Zephyrian warships cut through the darkness of space like hungry sharks. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small human colony grow larger on the view screen. His green-scaled face showed satisfaction as he studied the target. New Eden mining colony looked exactly like the intelligence reports described it. Small, weak, undefended. "Commander, we are receiving the colony's distress beacon," reported his communications officer. "They are calling for help." Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "Let them call. The nearest human military base is 3 days away. We will be gone with their precious minerals long before any help arrives." The Zephyrians had built their reputation as mercenaries by picking easy targets. Human colonies on the outer rim made perfect victims. The humans were young compared to other species in the galaxy. Their technology seemed primitive. Their military forces were scattered thin across too many worlds. Most importantly, they paid well when threatened. "How many defenders do our scans show?" Vextar asked his tactical officer. 12 security guards, Commander, all armed with basic projectile weapons. No energy shields, no plasma cannons, they might as well be carrying sticks. The bridge crew chittered with amusement. Vextar had led raids against over 40 human settlements in the past 2 years. None had offered real resistance. The humans always tried to negotiate first, then surrendered when faced with superior firepower. It was profitable work with minimal risk. "Deploy 3 squads to the surface," Vextar ordered. "Secure the mining facility and gather the workers. We take what we came for and leave." What Commander Vextar did not know was that his fleet had been detected the moment it entered the system. Deep space sensors had tracked their approach and immediately sent alerts to the nearest military units. The call for help had gone out before the aliens even knew the colony existed. Captain Jake Morrison received the emergency signal while his team finished their morning training exercise on the asteroid field near Proxima Station. The message was short and urgent. "Alien mercenaries, New Eden colony. Military assistance requested immediately." Morrison looked at his squad gathered around the communications console in their ship's cramped briefing room. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez checked her equipment with calm precision. Sergeant Ben Collins cleaned his rifle scope with practiced movements. Corporal Lisa Grant typed rapidly on her computer, already pulling up intelligence files on Zephyrian tactics. Private First Class Tony Martinez organized his medical supplies. "How long to reach New Eden?" Morrison asked their pilot. 4 hours at maximum burn, sir." "The colonists won't last 4 hours against a full mercenary fleet," Rodriguez said. "These Zephyrians don't take prisoners unless they're worth ransom money. Miners aren't." Morrison studied the tactical display showing the alien fleet's position. 3 heavy cruisers and support ships. Probably 200 armed soldiers. His team consisted of 5 people. The odds looked impossible by any normal standard. "Grant, what do we know about Zephyrian combat doctrine?" Morrison asked. The corporal pulled up files on her screen. "They rely on overwhelming firepower and superior numbers. Energy weapons, personal shields, standard formation attacks. They've never lost a raid against human targets." "That's because they've never faced human military forces in actual combat," Collins said quietly. "Only civilian security." Morrison nodded. The Zephyrians had built their reputation fighting farmers and miners. They had no idea what trained soldiers could do. That ignorance might be the only advantage his team would have. "Here's what we're going to do," Morrison said. "We reach New Eden before they finish their assault. Grant, I want you to hack into their communication systems the moment we're in range. Rodriguez, prepare charges for facility demolition. Collins, find high ground for overwatch. Martinez, be ready for casualty treatment." "What about the colonists, sir?" Martinez asked. "We evacuate them first. Empty the facility and set up defensive positions. Let the aliens come to us." The team moved with quiet efficiency. They had trained together for 3 years. Each knew exactly what the others could do. More importantly, they had trained for situations exactly like this one. Human military doctrine assumed they would always be outnumbered and outgunned. Every exercise prepared them to turn disadvantages into weapons. Their ship accelerated toward New Eden at dangerous speeds. In the cargo hold, Rodriguez assembled explosive charges. Collins zeroed his rifle scope and calculated firing solutions. Grant wrote programs to infiltrate alien computer systems. Martinez prepared trauma kits for multiple casualties. Morrison watched the tactical display and considered their options. The Zephyrians expected to face frightened civilians with hunting rifles. Instead, they would encounter soldiers who had trained their entire careers for impossible odds. Humans didn't just prepare for worst-case scenarios. They assumed worst-case. Scenarios were normal. The distance to New Eden decreased rapidly. Soon they would find out if human training and determination could overcome alien technology and numbers. Morrison felt no fear, only a cold, professional focus. His team was ready. The Zephyrians were about to learn why human colonies survived in a hostile galaxy. They were about to discover what human soldiers could really do. The Zephyrian dropships descended through New Eden's thin atmosphere like falling meteors. Commander Vextar watched from his flagship as his assault teams prepared to land near the mining facility. Everything looked exactly as expected. The colony's buildings sat in neat rows beside the massive excavation sites. No defensive positions, no military vehicles, no signs of organized resistance. "First wave is touching down now, Commander," his tactical officer reported. "Squads Alpha, Beta, and Gamma are deploying around the main facility." Vextar nodded with satisfaction. His soldiers would secure the miners, gather the valuable ore, and be back in orbit within 2 hours. Another easy victory for the Zephyrian. Mercenary fleet, squad leader Kixmore led his team toward the facility's main entrance. The building appeared empty. No lights in the windows. No movement in the corridors. The humans had probably hidden in the lower levels, hoping the aliens would take what they wanted and leave. "Scan shows no life signs in the upper floors," reported his sensor operator. "They must be in the basement levels." Kixmore gestured for his team to advance. The entrance doors had been left unlocked. Inside, the hallway stretched in both directions, dimly lit by emergency lighting. Everything seemed normal for an abandoned building. What squad leader Kixmore did not know was that Captain Morrison's team had arrived 30 minutes earlier. They had evacuated all 47 colonists to underground shelters 3 kilometers away. The facility now served as an elaborate trap, with every corridor and room carefully prepared for the coming battle. Sergeant Ben Collins lay prone on the roof of a storage building 800 meters from the main facility. His rifle scope showed perfect clarity in the afternoon light. He had calculated wind speed, humidity, and gravitational differences from Earth standard. His first shot would need to count. Through his scope, Collins watched the Zephyrian soldiers enter the building. They moved in standard formation, weapons ready but not expecting serious resistance. Their energy shields glowed softly around their bodies, designed to deflect plasma bolts and energy beams. Collins centered his crosshairs on the squad leader's head and gently squeezed the trigger. The high-velocity round struck Kixmore between the eyes before he could react. The kinetic energy punched through his shield as if it didn't exist, dropping him instantly. The other Zephyrians stared in shock as their leader collapsed. "Contact! Contact!" one of them screamed into his radio. "Kixmore is down! Sniper fire from unknown position." Collins was already moving to his secondary position. He had fired from the storage building's roof, but he would not stay there. Human sniper doctrine emphasized mobility. Shoot and move. Never give the enemy time to locate your position. In the facility's communication center, Corporal Lisa Grant sat at her portable computer, fingers flying across the keyboard. She had tapped into the Zephyrian communication network using equipment they had never seen before. Their encryption was strong but not designed to resist human cyber warfare techniques. "I'm in their system," Grant reported through her headset. "I can hear everything they're saying." She began feeding false information into their network. False position reports, fake casualty numbers, contradictory orders from different commanders. The Zephyrians started receiving reports that humans were attacking from 6 different directions at once. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez crouched in the facility's maintenance tunnels, placing explosive charges at key structural points. She had studied the building's blueprints during their flight to New Eden. Each charge was positioned to create maximum confusion while funneling enemy forces into predetermined kill zones. The first explosion shook the building as Squad Beta entered the east wing. The blast brought down a section of ceiling separating 3 soldiers from their team. Rodriguez had timed it perfectly. The isolated soldiers found themselves in a corridor with only one exit, exactly where she wanted them. Private First Class. Tony Martinez appeared behind them like a ghost. He had used the maintenance tunnels to reach their position undetected. His combat knife moved with surgical precision. 3 quick strikes and the separated soldiers were down before they could call for help. "This is impossible," one of the surviving Zephyrians whispered to his teammate. "Intelligence said humans were primitive, weak. How did that soldier get behind us?" On the command ship, Commander Vextar watched his neat operation fall apart. Squad Alpha had lost their leader to sniper fire. Squad Beta was reporting explosions and missing soldiers. Squad Gamma was receiving contradictory orders and didn't know which way to advance. "Sir, our communications are being jammed," his technical officer reported. "Someone is interfering with our command frequencies." "That's impossible. Human technology can't penetrate our encryption. The interference is coming from inside our own network, Commander. Someone has gained access to our systems." Vextar felt something he had never experienced in 40 years of mercenary work: fear. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were hunting his soldiers like prey animals. Another explosion rocked the facility. This time, Squad Gamma found themselves trapped in a section of the building with no way out except through a narrow corridor. As they advanced, Sergeant Collins put another round through the lead soldier's chest plate from his new position. Captain Morrison watched the battle unfold from his command post in the facility's control room. His team was performing exactly as trained, each soldier operating independently while maintaining perfect coordination with the others. The Zephyrians had superior numbers and technology, but they fought like they expected their enemies to be afraid. Human soldiers trained for fear. They trained to function when terrified, wounded, and outnumbered. Fear was just another environmental condition to overcome. Morrison activated his radio. "All units, Phase 2. Begin herding them toward the main assembly area." The hunt was just beginning. The remaining Zephyrian soldiers huddled in the facility's main assembly area, exactly where Captain Morrison wanted them. What had started as a simple raid had become a nightmare. Half their forces were dead or missing. Their communications were compromised. Their enemies seemed to know their every move before they made it. "We need to get back to the dropships," Squad Leader Tex Von whispered to his surviving soldiers. "This was supposed to be an easy target. These humans fight like demons." "Commander," Vextar's voice crackled through their damaged communications. "Negative. Complete the mission, secure the mining facility, and eliminate all resistance." "Sir, we've lost contact with 12 soldiers. The humans have weapons that punch through our shields like they're made of paper. We need immediate reinforcement. You are mercenaries, not children. Deal with 5 humans and complete your assignment." Tex Van looked around the assembly area. Broken equipment and scorch marks covered the walls. Bloodstains marked where his comrades had fallen. The humans had turned a simple building into a killing ground, and his soldiers were the prey. What Tex Van didn't know was that Private First Class Tony Martinez was already inside the building with them. He had used ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels to position himself behind enemy lines. Martinez crouched in the shadows above the assembly area, watching the Zephyrians through a ceiling grate. Martinez had trained for infiltration since joining the Special Forces. He could move through any building without making sound. His combat knife was sharp enough to cut through alien armor. More importantly, he understood something the Zephyrians didn't. Fear was a weapon, and he knew how to use it. The first Zephyrian died without making a sound. Martinez dropped from the ceiling, struck with his knife, and vanished back into the shadows before the others noticed. The soldier simply collapsed, confusing his teammates. "Kraltok, get up," one of them hissed. "This is not the time to rest." When Kraltok didn't respond, they realized he was dead. A clean cut through his neck armor had severed his spinal cord. The killer had vanished without a trace. "How is this possible?" Tex Von demanded. "Our sensors show no humans in this room." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez watched the Zephyrians from her position in the building's eastern wing. She had planted her explosives throughout the facility, turning every corridor into a potential trap. Her finger hovered over the detonator controls. As she waited for the right moment, the Zephyrians tried to leave the assembly area, moving toward what they thought was a safe exit. Rodriguez triggered 3 charges in sequence. The explosions brought down sections of wall and ceiling, blocking their escape routes. Dust and debris filled the air. Emergency lighting flickered and died. "We're trapped," one of the soldiers reported to his squad leader. "All exits are blocked." Sergeant Ben Collins had moved to his 3rd firing position, this time inside a partially collapsed storage room. Through gaps in the rubble, he could see the Zephyrians trying to clear debris from the blocked exits. His rifle scope found another target. The high-velocity round struck a Zephyrian trying to move a fallen beam. The soldier spun and fell, his energy shield offering no protection against kinetic weapons. Collins was already moving again before the others could react. "Sniper, take cover!" Tex Van shouted. But there was nowhere to hide. The humans had engineered the perfect killing zone. Every angle offered a clear shot. Every piece of cover could be eliminated with explosives. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting an enemy that controlled every aspect of the battlefield. Corporal Lisa Grant monitored the alien communications from her mobile command post. She had moved twice since the battle began, always staying ahead of any attempts to locate her position. Her computers showed the growing panic in Zephyrian transmissions. "Commander, we need immediate evacuation," Tex Van was saying. "These humans are not what our intelligence reported. They fight with coordination we've never seen before." "Impossible. Humans are individualistic. They cannot work as a team under pressure." Grant smiled as she listened to the commander's ignorance. Human military training focused entirely on teamwork under extreme stress. Every exercise prepared soldiers to function as a unit, even when separated and surrounded. She began the next phase of her psychological warfare campaign. Using the alien communication system, Grant transmitted false reports of human reinforcements arriving. Fake radio chatter about additional sniper teams. False orders directing Zephyrian units to positions where no Zephyrian units existed. The remaining aliens started shooting at shadows. They reported enemy contacts that didn't exist. Their formation fell apart as soldiers received contradictory orders from their own command structure. Martinez struck again, this time from ground level. He appeared behind 2 Zephyrians, eliminated both with his knife, and disappeared before their teammates could turn around. The aliens were now afraid to spread out, but grouping together made them easier targets for Collins and Rodriguez. Captain Morrison moved to his final position, overlooking the assembly area. The battle was progressing exactly as planned. His team had reduced a superior force to a handful of terrified survivors without taking a single casualty. The Zephyrians were learning what happened when predators met apex predators. "All units, prepare for final phase," Morrison transmitted to his team. "Time to end this." Commander Vextar watched his tactical display in growing horror. His assault force was being systematically destroyed by 5 humans, not just defeated, hunted. His soldiers were reporting impossible things, humans appearing and vanishing like ghosts, weapons that ignored energy shielding, coordination that defied everything he knew about human psychology. "Sir, Squad Leader Tex Van is requesting permission to surrender," his communications officer reported. Vextar stared at the display. In 40 years of mercenary work, no Zephyrian unit had ever requested permission to surrender to humans. The species was considered too primitive to accept formal surrender. Denied. They will complete the mission or die trying. But Vextar was beginning to understand that death was the only option his soldiers had left. The humans weren't just defending their colony. They were teaching the Zephyrians a lesson about the cost of underestimating human soldiers. The lesson was almost complete. Squad Leader Tex Van crouched behind overturned mining equipment with his 3 remaining soldiers. The assembly area had become a tomb. Bodies of his comrades lay scattered across the floor. The smell of death mixed with dust and smoke from the explosions. "We have to try something," whispered Trooper Nextall. "If we stay here, they will pick us off one by one." Tex Van nodded grimly. His squad had been reduced from 12 soldiers to 4 in less than an hour. The humans were somewhere in the building, moving like ghosts through walls and shadows. Every attempt to locate them had failed. Every attempt to escape had been blocked. Final assault, Texavan decided. We charge their positions together. Maybe we can take one of them with us. The 4 Zephyrians prepared their weapons and activated their energy shields to maximum power. They had enough charge for one desperate attack. If they could find even one human, they might salvage something from this disaster. On my mark, Texavan whispered. 3, 2, 1, go. The aliens burst from cover, running toward the building's main corridor. They expected to die, but they would die fighting like warriors. Their energy weapons fired in all directions, hoping to hit something in the smoke and debris. Sergeant Ben Collins watched them through his rifle scope from a position they hadn't even considered. He was lying flat on a beam near the ceiling, having climbed there through holes blown in the walls by Rodriguez's explosives. The Zephyrians ran directly beneath him. Collins didn't fire immediately. Instead, he waited for the perfect moment when all 4 aliens would line up in his crosshairs. The shot he was planning had never been attempted in actual combat, but he had practiced it hundreds of times in training. The high-velocity round struck the lead alien's weapon, shattering it and sending fragments into the soldier behind him. The bullet continued through both aliens and ricocheted off a metal support beam, striking the 3rd Zephyrian in the back. All 3 dropped instantly. Texavan spun around, trying to locate the shooter. He saw nothing but shadows and debris. The impossible shot had come from somewhere above, but his sensors showed no human signatures in that direction. "Where are you?" Texavan screamed into the empty building. "Show yourself and fight like a warrior." Captain Morrison stepped into view at the far end of the corridor. He walked calmly, his weapon lowered but ready. His uniform was clean despite the battle. His expression was professional and controlled. "I am Captain Jake Morrison, Earth Defense Force," he said in a clear voice. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and you will be treated according to military law." Texavan raised his energy weapon, pointing it at the human officer. "You think you have won? I still have enough power to burn you to ash." Morrison didn't move. He stood in the open, making himself an easy target. "You can try. But look around you, squad leader. Your entire assault force is dead or dying. My team accomplished this without taking a single casualty. Do you really think one more desperate shot will change anything?" "How?" Texavan demanded. "Our intelligence said humans were weak, primitive. Your weapons are simple projectile throwers. Your technology is centuries behind ours." "Your intelligence was wrong about many things," Morrison replied. "You assumed that advanced technology makes better soldiers. You assumed that superior numbers guarantee victory. You assumed that humans fight the same way other species fight." Corporal Lisa Grant's voice echoed through the building's communication system. She had taken control of every speaker in the facility. "Squad Leader Texavan, you are receiving a data transmission. Please access your tactical display." Texavan looked down at his wrist computer. Files were appearing on his screen. Combat records, battle reports, intelligence assessments from across the galaxy, all marked with human military classifications. "What is this?" he asked. "The real history of human military encounters," Morrison explained. "Every species that has attacked human colonies. Every mercenary group that thought we were easy targets. Every pirate fleet that tried to raid our supply lines." Texavan read the files with growing horror. The Krex Dominion had sent 3 battle fleets against human mining worlds. All 3 fleets had been destroyed by forces 1/10 their size. The Saurian pirates had attempted to raid human cargo ships for 2 years. Every single pirate vessel had been hunted down and eliminated. "This cannot be accurate," Texavan whispered. "These numbers are impossible." "Human military doctrine assumes we will always be outnumbered," Morrison continued. "We train for scenarios where enemy forces have superior technology, superior numbers, and superior firepower. We prepare for situations where retreat is impossible and reinforcements are not coming." Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez appeared from the eastern corridor, her demolitions equipment clearly visible. Private First Class Tony, Martinez emerged from a maintenance hatch behind Tech's van. Sergeant Ben Collins dropped down from his ceiling position. Corporal Lisa Grant walked in carrying her communication gear. Tech's van found himself surrounded by the 5 humans who had destroyed his entire assault force. They looked calm and professional, as if the battle had been a routine training exercise, rather than a life-or-death combat situation. "You see," Morrison explained, "you made a fundamental error. You assumed that humans fight to win battles. We don't. We fight to ensure that our enemies never want to fight us again." Commander Vextar's voice crackled through Texvan's radio. "Squad leader, report your status immediately." Texvan looked at the human captain, then at his dead comrades scattered across the floor, then at the impossible combat record still, scrolling across his tactical display. "Commander," he said slowly, "I request permission to surrender to enemy forces." The radio silence lasted for long seconds. Then Vextar's voice returned, tight with disbelief. "Request denied. Complete your mission." Texavan looked at Morrison one more time, then carefully placed his weapon on the ground and raised his hands. "I surrender to Captain Morrison in the Earth Defense Force," he announced clearly. In space above New Eden, Commander Vextar stared at his tactical display in stunned silence. His entire assault force had been neutralized by 5 human soldiers. 5. For the first time in his career, the Zephyrian commander was beginning to understand what his species had awakened. Squad leader Texavan sat on the floor of the assembly area with his hands secured behind his back. Private First Class Tony Martinez knelt beside him, treating a plasma burn on the alien's arm with professional care. The human medic worked with gentle precision, applying healing gel and protective bandages. "Why are you helping me?" Texavan asked quietly. "I came here to kill your people and steal your resources." Martinez looked up from his work. "Because you're wounded and you surrendered. That makes you a prisoner of war, not an enemy combatant. We treat our prisoners according to military law." Texvan stared at the human soldier. In 40 years of mercenary work, he had never seen victorious forces show mercy to defeated enemies. Winners took what they wanted and eliminated witnesses. That was how warfare worked throughout the galaxy. Captain Morrison stood near the window, speaking into his communication device. "Colonial Command, this is Morrison. New Eden colony is secure. All civilians are safe. We have 1 prisoner requiring medical attention and transport." "Copy that, Captain. Casualty report?" 0 friendly casualties. Enemy force neutralized. The radio crackled with static. "Repeat that, Captain. Did you say 0 casualties?" "Confirmed. My team sustained no injuries during the engagement." Texvan listened to this exchange with growing amazement. The humans had destroyed an entire Zephyrian assault force without losing a single soldier. Such a victory should have been impossible. Yet he had witnessed it personally. Sergeant Ben Collins finished gathering intelligence materials from the dead Zephyrians. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was documenting the explosive damage for her after-action report. Corporal Lisa Grant continued monitoring alien communications from the command ship in orbit. "Captain," Grant reported, "I'm picking up transmissions between the Zephyrian vessels. Commander Vextar is requesting permission from his superiors to withdraw from the system." Morrison nodded. "Put me through to their command frequency." Grant made the connection. Morrison's voice echoed through the speakers of every Zephyrian ship in the fleet. "Commander Vextar, this is Captain Morrison. I believe you have something that belongs to me." The alien commander's reply came after a long pause. "What do you want, human?" "Safe passage for my prisoner to receive proper medical care. In exchange, I'm prepared to offer you and your remaining forces safe departure from this system." "You are in no position to make demands, Captain. I still have 3 battle cruisers and 200 soldiers." Morrison walked over to where Grant had set up her communication equipment. He activated the visual transmission system, allowing Vextar to see him clearly. "Commander, let me show you something." The screen displayed tactical recordings from the battle, Collins eliminating multiple targets with impossible shots. Rodriguez's explosives channeling enemy forces into kill zones. Martinez, infiltrating, secured positions without being detected. Grant controlling alien communications and spreading false information. This engagement lasted 57 minutes, Morrison explained calmly. Your assault force consisted of 36 trained soldiers with superior weapons and armor. My team consists of 5 people. We neutralized your entire ground force without sustaining injuries. Vexitar watched the recordings in silence. The impossible was documented in clear detail. Humans moving through his soldiers like they were children playing war games. Now, Morrison continued, you can send down your remaining 200 soldiers. They will receive the same treatment as the first group. Or you can accept my offer and leave this system with your ships and crews intact. This is some kind of trick, Vexitar insisted. Humans cannot possess such military capabilities. Grant activated another display showing the combat record she had transmitted earlier. Species after species that had underestimated human forces. Fleet after fleet destroyed by smaller human units. The pattern was consistent across decades of contact. Commander, Morrison said quietly, what you encountered today was not our elite forces. This was a standard special operations team conducting routine training exercises. We responded to the colony's distress call because we happened to be in the area. Texvan looked up from where Martinez was finishing his medical treatment. Captain Morrison speaks truth, Commander. These humans fight like nothing we have ever faced. They prepare for battles we cannot imagine. Impossible, Vexitar replied, but his voice lacked conviction. Morrison gestured to his team. Every human soldier trains for situations where they are outnumbered 10 to 1, where their technology is inferior, where retreat is impossible and help is not coming. We don't just prepare for worst-case scenarios, Commander. We assume they are normal operating conditions. The alien commander was quiet for long minutes. Finally, his voice returned, subdued and thoughtful. Captain Morrison, I formally request safe passage for my fleet to leave this system. Granted, Commander. You have 2 hours to depart. Any attempt to return will be met with military force. Understood. But Captain, I must ask, if this was just a training team, what would happen if we faced your actual military forces? Morrison smiled grimly. You really don't want to find out. Commander! The Zephyrian ships began moving away from New Eden within minutes. Commander Vexitar transmitted one final message to Morrison before jumping to hyperspace. Captain, I will be reporting this encounter to every mercenary organization in the galaxy. Humans are not prey. They are apex predators. Any group that attempts to raid human colonies will face an enemy that doesn't just fight to win. They fight to ensure their enemies never want to fight them again. Morrison watched the alien fleet disappear into hyperspace. Texavan was being loaded onto a medical transport for treatment at the nearest military hospital. The colonists were returning to their homes and jobs. All in a day's work, Rodriguez commented as she packed her demolitions gear. Collins cleaned his rifle scope one more time. Think they learned their lesson? They'll spread the word, Morrison replied. Other species will hear what happened here. Some will believe it. Others will think the Zephyrians are making excuses for their defeat. Grant shut down her communication equipment, and the ones who don't believe will come looking for easy targets. Martinez finished organizing his medical supplies. Then we'll be ready for them too. Morrison looked around at his team. They had turned a desperate defensive action into a complete victory without breaking a sweat. For them, this level of performance wasn't exceptional. It was simply what human soldiers did when their people were threatened. In the depths of space, word was already spreading. Humans were not the weak prey species the galaxy had assumed. They were something far more dangerous. They were soldiers who turned disadvantages into weapons and made the impossible look routine. The galaxy was beginning to learn what humanity really meant by peace through strength.